Hey, let's tell them about the time when we went and found E.t.'s grave.
Sounds like a plan.
Hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I'm your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
That's right, we found E.t.'s grave. It just so happens it was only about less than a mile from our house.
And about 500 yards from my grandparents' grave.
Yeah, so very close. In this video, we're going to show you some interesting stuff about Youngstown, where we live, and some interesting information about, what's his name?
Michael Patrick
Bilon.
Bilon. We're not real sure how he pronounced it.
He was one of the actors who actually helped operate E.t. from Youngstown, born and raised. Mm-hmm. So before we get into his actual gravesite that we found, why don't you watch this short video about Little Pat, they call him Little Pat's life, and we'll be right back.
Born on August 29th of 1947, Michael Patrick Pat Bilon was born to Michael and Esther Bilon in the mid-sized industrial town of Youngstown, Ohio. At no taller than 2 foot 10 inches, he was considered one of the smallest adult dwarfs in the United States, but never characterized himself as disabled. Pat was an American actor who is best known for his performances in Under the Rainbow,
biggest movies,
I Want a Room,
and E.t. the Extraterrestrial. Pat grew up on the west side of Youngstown, where he lived with his parents. The Bilons were very passionate about their ethnic heritage. They once hosted a Ukrainian radio hour on WKTL-FM, based in Struthers, Ohio. The Bilons also had a small business that they ran from the patio of their home called Petrush's Ukrainian Arts, which was a Ukrainian gift shop that featured Ukrainian dancer figurines that were designed by Little Pat's father, Michael. As stated in an article by his mother, Esther, the business was funded in part by some of the acting money that Little Pat had received. Esther went on to say that they would have customers that would come to their shop from all over the world and at all times of the day. They even had some customers that came at 4 a.m. as they were passing through the area. As a child, Pat was an altar boy and a Boy Scout. He attended Catholic parochial school. His mother reported that he was a performer from a young age. Pat began tap dancing at age 7. He appeared on many shows, sometimes with celebrities, and became well known for appearances in regional stage productions. While still in elementary school in the 1950s, Pat had offers to appear on the Jack Parr and Perry Como shows, but Mrs. Bilon said she didn't want to expose him. He did perform a song and dance routine with June Taylor dancers, though, and Pat went on to graduate from the Catholic Ursuline High School in 1965. Then he went on to pursue and obtain a degree from Youngstown State University in speech and drama in 1972. As an adult, Pat and his family were very active in their church, St. Anne's Ukrainian Catholic Church in Austintown, where Pat would coach basketball and teach CCD classes. Pat had many different jobs as an adult. Although he was an actor, he considered himself to be a starving actor. He was a bouncer at Wedgwood Lanes in Austintown and even worked as a dispatcher for the Mahoning County Sheriff's Office. Pat would also go out occasionally on undercover assignments and was very helpful at this due to his size. He just wasn't seen. Captain Steve Terlecki once told of him, "I'd like to have a dozen more like him. He does a hell of a job for me." Pat was also very involved with the organization Little People of America, which is a nonprofit organization that provides support and information to people of short stature and their families. He served as the District 5 director for some time, and while he was attending a conference in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1979, Pat got his chance at a break into the motion picture business. Talent agents for the film Under the Rainbow were at the conference looking for actors to be in the movie, and Pat was selected to be one of the actors. The movie was released in 1981, and Pat had the role of Hotel Rainbow Guest, but this was the opening for him to get his Screen Actors Guild membership. Pat took a 4-month leave of absence from the sheriff's office to go to Hollywood to film that movie. Hollywood, and more importantly, Steven Spielberg, would come calling again in July of 1981. Pat was at a Little People's Convention in Minnesota when he received a call to come and audition for a new movie by Steven Spielberg. You see, a $1.5 million costume of one of the main characters was already made, and they were looking for someone who could fit inside. Universal Studios flew Mr. Bilon from Minnesota, where the convention was being held, to Hollywood and then back home to Youngstown. He auditioned in the E.t. costume on a Thursday, he recalled, and the next day he was told that he'd got the part. Although there were other actors who were also helping to bring E.t. to life, when you see any scenes that are showing E.t. walking and moving around, that was Mr. Bilon in the costume, since he was a perfect fit. He explained in an interview that the costume weighed 5 pounds more than he did, 50 pounds to his 45. His head came up only to E.t.'s neck, and his hands came to E.t.'s elbows. There was very little ventilation, and he couldn't see out of the costume at all. He had to take directions telling him which way to move, but the hardest part was the ones that were giving him the instructions didn't quite understand that their left was not his left, and sometimes he would accidentally run into things. In early January of 1983, Pat and his father traveled to Perth Amboy, New Jersey to meet with friends. While on that trip, they stopped by the offices of the Ukrainian weekly editorial offices on January 5th to thank them for running the article on Pat the previous year and to bring them some of their figurines. At the meeting, Pat was sporting a custom jacket with E.t. embroidered on the back and his first name on the front. He was very excited about being asked to be in the sequel of E.t. that was planned to start filming sometime in 1984. It seemed like it was the beginning of his acting career, and it was really starting to take off towards the big time. During that trip, he was given the key to Perth Amboy, and when they traveled to Atlantic City, they were mobbed by groups of people seeking Pat's photo and autograph. Unfortunately, later that month, Pat got very sick with pneumonia. An infection followed, and he was admitted to St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Youngstown on the afternoon of January 26th of 1983. He died the next morning at 1:08 a.m. at age 35. Pat's funeral service was conducted by Kinnick Funeral Home in Austintown, where inside the hallways to this day hangs a picture of Pat. The Catholic Mass for his funeral was held at St. Anne's Ukrainian Catholic Church, with his burial in Calvary Cemetery, just blocks away from his childhood home. Author R.T. Rube 54 wrote this in a blog post entitled "Growing Up in Working Class Youngstown, Pat Bilon," about Pat in March of 2021. Although he was small in stature and short in lifespan, he was big not only on the silver screen, but also around the city. He had to be impressive to succeed as a bouncer and in undercover operations. His faith, his church, and his ethnic community were very important to him. He raised money for various local organizations. He never saw his size as a disability, but showed how much little people were capable of. Doesn't he sound like a guy who grew up in Youngstown? We want to add to that by saying, doesn't that sound like the guy who played the lovable E.t.?
Okay, so guess what? We're actually sitting here in the cemetery. Of course, our haunted travels, we either start or finish in the cemetery. And this one we started and are finishing in the cemetery. So let's go ahead and cut to that. And we're going to go, he's just right over there is where the gravesite is. Calvary Cemetery, Youngstown, Ohio, on the west side. We're recording in the car. Okay, so it was 9 back, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. squirrel. There it is. Hopefully getting that.
When you see us.
Getting our shadows. So here's his mother. Right here. And his father. Right there. Where's the number? That's how we found it, by that number. Okay, so we hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully we're going to get another one out here in a shorter amount of time than this one. It's been a while. If you haven't subscribed to our vlog channel, I'll put a link to it. You might want to go over there and subscribe to that and see some of the behind the scenes of making this video and some of the other things we've been doing. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give us a like, leave us a comment, and hey, till next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.